Single most damaging thing you can do to your Triumph might be the thing you're proudest of, riding it hard because that's what it was built for. Plenty of riders chase revs, hold the engine near redline, or push a cold or under-maintained bike like it owes them performance, never connecting today's thrill to next year's repair. The engine answers every time, so it feels bulletproof, and that's the trap. Sustained heat, hard loads, and skipped warm-ups can compound into accelerated wear that doesn't announce itself until oil consumption climbs or compression starts to fade, and a Triumph top end is not a cheap fix. Most riders who do this insist their bike loves it. That belief is exactly why the damage builds unseen. 4 other habits on this list are doing quieter versions of the same harm. The last one is the mistake riders defend the hardest, and it may cost them the most. A Triumph engine is built to a standard most riders underrate. The triples in particular pull with a character you don't forget, and that smoothness hides how much engineering tolerance is working under the tank. But precision cuts both ways. A motor built tight rewards good habits and punishes lazy ones, usually without a warning light to tell you it's happening. The bike keeps running, keeps sounding healthy, keeps pulling clean right up to the moment a repair bill arrives that's larger than the maintenance you skipped. Owning one of these means you are the first line of protection for it. These 5 habits are the ones that quietly undo good engineering, and most riders are guilty of at least 2. Number 5, lugging the engine. This is riding in too high a gear at low RPM, then rolling on hard throttle to pull the bike forward instead of downshifting. Riders do it because it feels smooth, mature, and economical. It's quiet, it sips fuel, and it feels like you're being kind to the machine. The reality can be the opposite. Asking for heavy load at low revs puts strain on the crank and rod bearings and can promote carbon buildup and pre-ignition in some cases, all in the rev range, where the engine has the least to give. You may notice a faint knock or judder at low speed, a vibration through the pegs, or a hesitation before the bike responds. What to do instead is let the triple lev where it was designed to, keep it in its power band, and downshift before you ask for power rather than after. But the next habit does its damage when the engine is barely warm, which is when it's most vulnerable. Number 4, riding only short trips. Many owners use the bike for a commute, a coffee run, errands across town, and the engine rarely reaches full operating temperature. It feels harmless because the bike starts, runs, and gets you there. The hidden problem is that an engine that never fully warms can hold condensation and unburned fuel in the oil. Moisture and fuel dilution don't get a chance to cook off, and over time that can break down the oil's protection and promote internal corrosion. You might notice a milky residue under the oil filler cap, oil that looks tired sooner than expected, or rough running until it's warm. What to do instead is take it for a proper, longer ride regularly, so the engine reaches and holds full temperature, and check your oil condition rather than just its level. The next one isn't even about the engine directly, and that's exactly why riders ignore it until it takes the engine with it. Number 3, neglecting the final drive chain. Riders skip cleaning, lubing, and adjusting it because it's a cheap, dirty job, and the chain still turns the wheel, so it feels like a low priority. The consequence can reach far past the chain itself. A dry, rusted, or badly adjusted chain wears its sprockets fast, and a chain run too tight loads the output shaft and gearbox bearings unnecessarily. In a worst case, a neglected chain that fails at speed can damage the engine cover or cases, which turns a maintenance item into engine work. You may notice tight spots as you rotate the wheel, rust between the links, excess slack, or a notched sprocket. What to do instead is clean and lube it on a regular schedule. Set the slack to the figure in your manual and replace the chain and sprockets together as a set. Still, none of that compares to the fluid that's failing quietly inside the cases right now. Number 2, stretching oil changes or using the wrong oil. The oil looks fine on the dipstick, the bike runs, and a longer interval saves money, so riders push it. On most Triumphs, the same oil lubricates the engine, the gearbox, and a wet clutch, which is why the specification matters as much as the interval. Oil that's the wrong type, or oil that's sheared and degraded, can struggle to protect the valve train and may cause clutch slip or harsher shifting. You might notice the clutch slipping under hard acceleration, gear changes feeling clunky, or ticking that wasn't there before. What to do instead is use the oil grade and JASO specification listed in your owner's manual, change it on the manufacturer's interval, and confirm any product is rated for a wet clutch before you pour it in. If in doubt, verify with a certified Triumph technician. And that brings us to number 1. The service riders argue against the hardest and regret the most. And finally, number 1. Skipping the scheduled valve clearance inspection. This is the service riders defend the most because the bike runs perfectly, the inspection often finds nothing dramatic, and the labor isn't cheap, so it feels like paying for nothing. Here is why the logic is dangerous. Valve clearances can tighten over time, particularly on the exhaust side, and a valve that no longer seats fully loses its ability to shed heat into the head. The risk is a burnt valve or seat, which is a top-end repair far larger than the inspection you avoided. The cruelty of it is that most of the damage happens before any symptom appears. By the time you notice hard starting, a lumpy idle, a misfire, or lost compression, the expensive part may already be done. What to do instead is follow the inspection interval in your manual exactly, treat it as a check rather than an assumed adjustment, and have it performed by someone who knows these engines. This is the one I would verify before spending a single dollar chasing performance. Here's the checklist I would give any rider who wants this machine to last. Inspect your oil condition, not just its level, and look under the filler cap for moisture. Write down your last oil change mileage and your next valve inspection interval from the manual so you never guess. Clean, lube, and check a chain slack on a set schedule, and replace the chain and sprockets as a set. Confirm your oil meets the grade and JASO rating Triumph specifies. Ask your technician directly when your valve clearances were last measured and what the readings were. Avoid heavy throttle at low RPM and give the engine real heat cycles instead of only short hops. If you feel a persistent knock, a misfire, or lost power, stop riding and diagnose it before the next ride, not after. A Triumph rewards the rider who understands it and quietly bills the one who doesn't. None of these habits announce themselves, which is exactly why they cost so much when they finally surface. Protect the oil, respect the warm-up, mind the chain, and never treat the valve inspection as optional. The engineering is on your side as long as you give it what it actually needs. If you own one of these machines, subscribe. This channel is built around helping owners understand what they already paid for. Know the machine before it costs you.